So near the end of my day there, I ended up going back by a few dealers, and I spotted something at a dealer that I didn't seen earlier. I don't know if he came in later in the morning or what, but he had these two items sitting there, and I looked at them long enough for him to see me looking at them, and one thing led to another, and he had decided that he didn't want these things anymore because they were dirty and heavy, and apparently he hadn't gotten much interest in them during the day. So I ended up scoring these two things for $10 a piece. They're in these bags because I didn't want them getting my car trunk all filthy. Voila. So the weird thing is, I got two of these identical. He had two of them there. So my first thought was, well, okay, they're off of a bench center, and the bench center base went missing. Then I looked at them more closely and realized these are not tailstocks for a bench center. These are tailstocks for a dividing head by the looks of it. And I'm basing that assumption on the fact that not only can the height be changed, but also this can tilt. So you can change the angle on this thing. I have no idea who makes it. So now I got the other one out here side by side. So it's interesting for sure. The only identification I could see is there's a number stamped on the top, and oddly enough, this one's stamped 8253 and this one's stamped 8254. Now it could be that these were on milling machines right next to each other in a factory, and that those were just like inventory numbers. So maybe there was a dividing head and a tailstock on one machine, and it had that number, and then another one next to it. You know, they had multiple dividing heads in the tool room available, and they had all those coded so that you could make sure the tailstock stayed with the right one. Who knows? But it doesn't make sense to me that this would just be bench centers like this to support something between centers, because if that was the case, why have the ability to tilt it? Which it appears to me that this clearly has the capability of doing. So if anybody recognizes these tailstocks and wants to comment on them, I'd love to hear about it. The bottoms have keys to go right in T slots, you know, right on your mill or whatever. And then there's a number on here, looks like 51D or 510, something like that. And then this one's stamped in the same location, but it's 118, a completely different number. This one, the keys are actually marked 3 and 4. This one, the keys aren't marked at all, unless it's on the back side. I don't know. There's a 39 down here. I don't know if there's any numbers underneath that crud that's in there. Looks like maybe there is. Yep. Oh, those both have a 39 on them. I don't know. But no manufacturer's name that I can see. Well, I found one identical to this, right down to having a number stamped here, only it was 3451 or something, but same kind of layout of the numbers in the same exact location. All of these features exactly in the same location, similar looking handle. I mean, it was just a dead ringer for this. And he listed it as, it was used, and he listed it as unbranded, and he sold it for $150. So it looks like, yeah, it was a smart move on my part to take these for $10 a piece. Although, maybe not, because I'll probably never get around to selling them, because I won't want to ship them because they're too heavy. And well, I don't know. These are the last three items I ended up buying as far as machinist tools go. So we'll take a look at these real quick, and then I'm going to show you that lot of video game consoles that I bought for $60 first thing in the morning. So these three items were all from the same dealer, and I noticed that all three of them are engraved with the initials UGO. So I think the same guy made all three of these. These all appear to be homemade. This screw jack's kind of neat. It's a decent size. It's about 1.5 inches OD at the base, and it's a two-stage design. So this part here can extend, and then also this part can extend. And then it has the the type of swivel head that has like a bearing in there, you know, a ball and not sure exactly, ball and socket, that's what I'm trying to say, so that if there's something on here putting force on this, you could still turn this easily. And this has about a 2 to 5 inch, well, closer to 3 to 5 inch range. No, 2 to 5 inch. Anyways, I kind of like it, but I do have so many screw jacks right now. I'm going to sell that one. And then bench block, always a handy thing to have. Matter of fact, I have mine handy right here right now. I use it periodically. Of course, Starrett and Brown and Sharp, I think both make a commercially made one. It's kind of expensive. This one seems like it was pretty well done. I don't know. This might be a generic, like made in India or something like that, but suits me well. This one is again UGO on here, so I think maybe he made it because the holes are pretty staggered and offset. You know, they're kind of randomized there. Doesn't seem as symmetrical as I would expect, but he's got a good assortment of hole sizes here, and he did a couple other design features that I thought were kind of neat. He did this hex thing with the flats, which I guess he may have done that just for aesthetics, or maybe he did that so this could be held in a larger vise, vise jaws or something. I don't know. I kind of think he just did that just for looks, just to, show what he could do. And then he either sent it out or he had it, in a shop that he was able to chrome plate it. This is actually chrome plated. Unfortunately, the chrome is in kind of rough condition in some areas, but still a nice little bench block. But I've got one already, so I guess I'll sell that one. And then last is this nice little precision grinding vise. And again, somewhere on here, yeah, right there, there's a recessed area that he milled in, and it's engraved UGO. So I think maybe the same guy did this one, and I guess he had a little time on his hands and decided he was gonna dress this thing up with a little bit of this, I believe what they call engine turning, is I think the term used for this type of design, where they almost burnish in these circles one on top of each other, and it's pretty nicely done. It's got an interesting little design on the locking screw. Lots of times this is a bolt that goes through to a cross rod, and instead what he's got is he's got a threaded rod going down and then a beveled nut. So again, this is in the smallest setting, and if we want to open this up to larger, just back this off far enough to push this out of the way, and we can slide this open to wherever we need it, where we're close, and then again the final small amount of movement tightening down is done right here. And because of the design, that avoids the tendency of the part wanting to lift or raise up as the jaws are tightening. And there's just some staining on the bottom here. This actually looks worse than it feels. Feeling it with my finger, it feels nice and smooth. So I would just probably, whoever ends up getting this, probably could just give this a nice lapping, and I think they'd be all set. So that's it for the machinist items. Now let's take a look at these consoles. So the first one is something I haven't seen before. Clearly it's an Atari. The game cartridges slot is at an angle, as opposed to like the 2600s, the slot's right here in the middle, and it's parallel to the front. The came with several games. Came with Centipede, basketball. See It says computer games, home computer, Defender, Flight Simulator 2, and computer game Donkey Kong. All of these games right here all run around, you know, $5 to $8 a piece in good working condition. And this is a Atari Xe System. And what this was this was a console that came out, I think, after the Atari 2600. And the idea behind this was there was a keyboard module that you could buy that you could actually hook up to this. So on the back here, we've got a port right here, this big one. And what you can see is there's actually a symbol, some symbols up above it that shows like a printer, a modem, looks like maybe a tape drive. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We have outputs over here for television, monitor, audio. So the TV would be an RF out. That would probably be like outputting channel 3 or 4. Yeah, there's an L and H for low and high. RF channel output on there, and then the one that's monitor is probably composite video out. So this, I think, is actually harder to find than many of the Atari 2600 systems because I don't think it went over as big. And one of the things that came with this, or I think it was an accessory, was a light gun for some of the like shooting games, which unfortunately was not in the box with this stuff, nor was the power supply. And this has a DIN type plug to plug in for the power supply, kind of like the Commodore 64s had, if I recall correctly. But anyways, I found a seller in California online who sells an Atari adapter for this, and I've already ordered it because even, you know, kind of running the risk of, if it doesn't work, sell it for parts. But if it works, then A, we'll be able to, you know, I'll be able to get more money for it, and B, I'll be able to test the games. And again, these games aren't that special, except for this one. This one is called David's Midnight Magic, Atari Xe video game, 1982, Broadband Software Incorporated. This game sells for about $20, so I guess this is a little rarer one. So we'll probably sell that one by itself. This is all going to probably go on eBay because that's where the money is for this kind of stuff. In addition, in the box, like I said, no power supply, but there was what appears to be an original Atari controller. This looks like an original Atari joystick because it looks just like the 2600's joystick, except that it's this gray color to kind of match this case and this thing. Then also there was this Point Master, which I noticed is by Disc Washer, which is a company that started out, I think, making record cleaning supplies, which is why it's called Disc Washer. And then they got into the frenzy of video games. So Point Master is supposed to be, I guess, a little bit of an improvement in joysticks. And then not one, but two of these Slick Sticks by Suncom. So again, a couple of aftermarket replacement joysticks here. Also, there was this, which many people who grew up with the Atari 2600 system, like myself, know exactly what this is. Back in the day, believe it or not, we didn't have cable like coax cable. We had this flat ribbon type wire coming from our antennas, and it was I think it was called 300 ohm impedance wire that would normally hook to 2 screws on the back of your TV set instead of a coax input that you screw it onto. So what you did with this was you hooked this, you disconnected the antenna from the TV, you hooked this onto the TV terminals, you hooked your antenna back up to here, and when you put it in TV mode, you're hooked up to the antenna and can watch TV. But then when you wanted to play your video game, you flipped it over, or hook your computer up to it, you flipped it over to this mode, and the RF modulated channel 3 or channel 4 that would come out of this device would now go in through the antenna terminals. You put your TV on channel 3 or 4 and you would be able to see the video output from this thing. And then there was also this adapter right here, which I have no idea what it is. Has nothing to do with video games, I don't think. It says South Pacific Plastic Mold Manufacturer. And it's an AP2780, which I tried looking it up. It's a 5.2 volt DC output supply, and it's got the weirdest little plug on the end of it. So I have no idea what this is. So it's probably going to end up going in the trash. Next, let's look at the Colecovisions. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is known as the Colecovision video game system, or video game console. So this came out trying to vie for market share against the Atari 2600. I think it featured better graphics at the time when it first came out, and then there was an expansion module you could purchase that plugged in here. I don't remember exactly what that did. I think that might have given you the ability to save games and stuff. Came with this interesting design here where the joysticks actually kind of were stored, able to be stored in here when they weren't being used. There's an 800 number here on here if there's a malfunction. And so what I ended up getting in this deal for the $60 besides all that Atari stuff was I got not one but two of these consoles, and it only came with 3 games: Sub Rock, Pepper 2, and the official Carnival with the label falling off. I've never heard of Pepper 2 or Sub Rock. Carnival sounds kind of familiar. The good news is that we've got a power supply, because you could look at this thing. This thing's massive. It's a big heavy sucker. And look at the design. This big heavy thing had to go in the wall. There's even a little standoff there so that this, could kind of sit out the way it's supposed to from the wall. So they give you the pin out here. So this must be another one of these DIN plugs on here. No, that's a completely different animal. Oh yeah. That's a very unique plug. So you can imagine this power supply is going to be harder to come by and probably more money. So hopefully it's good. Pin 1 is positive 5 volts DC at 0.9 amps. Pin 2 is negative 5 volts DC at 0.1 amp. Pin 3 is 12 volts DC at 0.3 amps. And then pin 4 is ground. So there's a lot going on with this one. And we have another one of these. And this is a genuine Coleco one. Look, it even says Coleco on it. That's kind of cool. All right. So this one, they attached the I think they call these video balloons, BALUN. It's a matching transformer. It goes from that 300 ohm impedance that I was talking about to the 75 ohm impedance, which is your typical cable TV. Is it 75 or 50? I can never remember. I think this is 75 ohm, and I think CB radio is 50 ohm. Anyways, got that adapter there. So if I could scrounge a TV set down here, old school one, that has the capability to tune channel 3, we could actually fire this thing up and see if it works. All right, let's see. Let's try Pepper 2 first. How do you like that? Actually getting something on the screen. It looks like I'm off by 1 channel, so got the TV set to 3. Maybe the modulator switch is set to 4. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Alright. Switch that back to 4, and into 3. Junky old TV that I was actually going to throw out. Oh, how cool is that? Turn game off before inserting cartridge or expansion module. Is that its way of trying to tell me that it's not recognizing the game is? Okay, game's not starting, so I'm thinking maybe it's... All right, let me try one of the other games. Let's try Sub Rock. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and clean the contacts. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's oxidation on those contacts. I'm just inserting, pulling out and inserting the cartridge just back and forth a little bit. That scrubbing action while the chemical's still not evaporated on there. All right, now let's see. Now let's see what happens. Precedent error. Colecovision presents XEGS Pepper 2, 1983. I was a junior in high school. To select game option, press button on keypad. All right. Control's not working. Maybe I got the wrong control. Grab the other one. There we go. Had the wrong control. So this is like Pac-Man. Yeah, this is a total rip-off of Pac-Man. Oh. So, alright. So, Pepper 2 is Pac-Man-ish. Well, now I remember one of the problems with this TV. It's got a bad connection in the tuner, so that's why it's all snowy and the audio's a little scratchy, but works well enough for me to test this thing out. Game over. Alright, so this system seems to work perfectly fine. I'm going to throw the other one up here on the bench and see if I lucked out and got two working systems. What's neat about this one is it has this vinyl Colecovision cover, which I would imagine a video game collector might pay extra for. This one actually looks like it's physically in maybe even cleaner condition than the last one. Yeah, this one definitely looks cleaner. Oh, I'm not very good at this game. Alright, so I'd say we got two working ColecoVision systems out of this, and who knows, maybe the Atari will even work once the power supply comes in. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.